everyone. So, as a lot of you know, I've been talking about on Instagram how my husband, Josh, is going to be on a podcast because we have some really good news. Well, exciting news. We're moving to Austin, Texas. So, I'm sure a lot of people you've only been here for like a year. What is going on? Well, you've been applying to jobs. Well, other teams within Amazon.
Looking for other teams within Amazon.
Yeah. This is the first time my husband is on YouTube and podcast. His name's Josh, and we got married June 10th, 2017, and we met at UW Milwaukee, a party.
At your apartment.
At my apartment, but we had a bunch of people over. I guess it was kind of a party hangout. We got married. We only dated for maybe a year, and then we got married.
Just under a year, and then you got proposed to.
Yeah, and then proposed, and then we planned our wedding in 6 months, and now we're married, and we've been married for almost 3 years. So I know I talked before, Josh works at Amazon, and then I work from home with the boutique. Okay, so I guess backing up, my plan with this podcast was just to like go over everything, where our mind's at and where we're at now, and the process with moving, I don't know, with Amazon.
I think you just want to go chronologically through introducing me and what I've done and kind of our path and why we've been moving around.
I have a bunch of topics on here. When Josh and I got married, you had a job offer with IBM.
Yeah, when I proposed to you, I had a job offer with IBM.
Yeah.
And had chosen to move to North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
To Raleigh-Durham.
Yeah, but there was a bunch of other cities that they gave options.
Yeah, I had a few options, and when I talked to the recruiter, we had it narrowed down to 2.
Yeah.
And it was either going to be Raleigh-Durham or Austin.
Yeah. And we ended up going with Raleigh-Durham because you talked to someone that worked at IBM.
The recruiter that I had the placement interview with, they had given me, I'd given him those 2 options, and he happened to be in Raleigh-Durham and was excited that was one of the options, so he immediately pushed me in that direction.
Yeah, well, he said how the weather was super nice. He said the falls are going to be the best fall that you'll ever see because there's so many trees and just greenery in North Carolina. So that was really appealing to us. I don't even know what else we based it off of. Wasn't it just kind of weather? We just wanted to get out of the snow.
Had a first filter of cost of living. So that ruled out places like California and New York.
Yeah, and it was about the same as Wisconsin.
And then from there we looked at, once it narrowed down my cost of living, then we looked at where would we most like to live. A lot of that has to do with weather. So North Carolina had a nice 4 seasons, but you're not hitting the brutal cold like you would in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things the recruiter pushed us towards that doing, is he really liked having 4 distinct seasons.
Yeah. And he said when it did snow, it usually melted the next day or the same day.
Yeah.
So it might snow like 1 or 2 days out of the year in North Carolina. But my point with saying all this was because Austin, Texas was one of the options even back when we got married.
Now everything's circled around.
Yeah.
Austin's one of the options, and now we're all the way back around.
This is what I wanted
Austin
to do, though. I'm trying to, because I know there's going to be 2 types of people. There's going to be the people that hear this, and they're going to be, oh, I'm so happy for you, you're moving, this is great, you'll love it there. And then there's going to be the people that are going to be like, you're moving again? Like, why don't you guys settle down somewhere? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It seems
there's always there's those, because when we moved to Seattle, I remember there was quite a lot of people, more than I was expecting, that seemed more, at least in their tone of voice, they seemed a little mad. Well, why don't you guys just settle down already? That's why I'm trying to go over everything.
Yeah, we seem like we're at the right age where it makes it easy to move around and be adventurous. So it's different when you have 3 kids and you're talking about moving all of them, or if you have 2 pets, but we're in the young age where we can kind of move around and see what we like.
I remember even before we got married, we talked about how we didn't want to be those people that settle somewhere, even if we had kids. Like if let's say we had 2 kids and your job wanted you to move somewhere, or one of our entrepreneur businesses, it made sense to move, let's say. We don't want those people that are tied to a place. Oh, we don't want to move because of our kids. Kids will make new friends. I wrote about this in my blog too. We talked about before we got married. Like we never want to be hunkered down to one place.
Yeah, kids are more resilient than you think, and
yeah, it's
a
almost
lot
a good
easier to make career advancement if you're willing to
Yeah.
switch locations rather than being like, I need to
Yeah.
find
Well,
this kind of career opportunity and in this place.
I wrote about this in my blog too, that I almost think moving is almost better for the kids because then they can meet more friends. They'll probably be more, social, meeting new people. Like it forces them to be more outgoing. You talked about career advancement. It's not just like helping our career, like it would be helping our kids financially. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I know that's not a very popular opinion. I don't know. My side of the family was they moved and then they stayed in that house and they're like, we're staying here. We're not moving no matter what. We're staying with this. And sometimes I see it on your side.
Yeah.
Not everyone, just some people.
But it doesn't have to be the right decision for anybody.
It does. Everyone has their own opinions
one of the
on
reasons
it.
we were a good match is that we both had this same mindset.
Yeah. There's no right or wrong answer. I'm just saying, like, that was us. Like, that's what we talked about when we got married. And also, the more we move, the more I notice, I think we kind of like moving. I don't know, just like the planning of it, and we like exploring the new cities, and we like road trips. The move from North Carolina to Seattle, literally edge of the United States to edge of the United States. It was a great move. It was so much fun. That was a good trip.
Yeah, 8-day road trip.
Yeah.
We were able to see a bunch of different
cities.
cities.
But we liked it. We liked it even when we went to North Carolina, Wisconsin to North Carolina.
Yeah, on that last trip we were able to see Denver, Salt Lake City, Boise.
Yeah, and now is, like you said, we're at that, I'm only 24, Josh is 28. We're kind of in that age where I think it's a good time to travel, especially once you get all your loans paid off. You have the room in your budget to explore. Okay, so I wanted you to talk about what did you work on at IBM? And then, and then throughout the year or two that we were there, and then applying to new jobs and the move, you know what I mean? The move and all that.
Yeah. So
it's a nervous tick.
Yeah, I could tell, it's fine. So when I got hired for IBM, I started with Watson Health. It's one of the big programs in the Raleigh-Durham area because of the amount of hospitals and health areas they have in there, with both Duke and UNC having big medical programs. Mm-hmm. So Watson Health ended up being one of their main spots. And group that I got hired on with was...
It was that chat robot, right?
So
for doctors?
The team that I hired on for was a company called Truven. Mm-hmm. And they were a recent acquisition by IBM. When they put together Watson Health, they pretty much hired like bought 4 different companies.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Truven was one of them. So it was interesting being in a group of people that all were not IBMers. All of them were just starting there within the last few months because they'd gotten bought.
And a lot of them were out of college too. The hires right from college.
Yeah, some of them were. Mm-hmm. Some of them came through the same program that I did.
Yeah.
But even the veterans there, they were new to IBM. So the first project I worked on was when you're a hospital, in order to get your funding from, especially big organizations like Medicare, Medicaid, which are a lot of these people's biggest payers, we were working for providers, which means hospitals and doctors' offices. They need to file these forms in a special format. So we worked on a way that other companies in our whole business could go ahead and write in this format pretty easy. So we essentially created this writer that could write it in this special format that the Medicare and Medicaid wanted it in. Because if you had it in the wrong format, then you're not going to get reimbursed through the expenses. And then after that, I worked on, I guess it's not even arguable, a more exciting project. One of their products was called Micromedics, which is essentially a bunch of drug reference material that doctors and hospitals use. So when they want to prescribe something to you, they use this to figure out what's the recommended dosage. And a lot of doctors might know the recommended dosage for a general patient, but there's all kinds of different factors that might change that. If if you have some sort of heart condition, or if you're overweight, or if you're a child.
Yeah.
So they were allowed to go ahead, and they also wanted to look up, like, if this person's also taking this other medication, should I lower the dosage or raise the dosage? So there's a bunch of information, essentially a multiple encyclopedias of information that doctors use.
Yeah.
And right now, before we started on it, it was mostly like a Google search bar that they would look through. So we were building a chatbot on top of that. So instead of typing in the drug and going to find which page of information they need, they were able to ask in sort of a natural language to be like, how much ibuprofen should I give an elderly patient with heart disease? And it would go ahead and give them the answer in like a chat format, and they can talk naturally rather than trying to search and try and find the information. So we're just trying to get ways for doctors to be able to get the information faster, especially in like emergency scenarios.
Yeah, when I was a massage therapist in Chapel Hill, I got a lot of people that were going to school to be a doctor or physician's assistant, just in that medical realm. And I was kind of explaining it to people that a doctor could, let's say someone, like you said, had heartburn, they could go into this chat bot and then like type that in, and they'll list off all the medications that will help with heartburn. So then a doctor doesn't have to remember the 1,000 different medications that help with heartburn. You know what I mean? It's just like in there, and then he could be like, oh yeah, this one, I forgot about this one. This one would help for exactly what you want it for.
Yeah, or ask a follow-up question once they have the list of 12 to be like, well, what if they have heartburn?
Yeah. And a lot of those people I was massaging, my clients, said that they would like that.
Yeah.
So did you guys finished that, right? You got it launched then?
Yeah, we shipped it. It got put on the Micromedics page, and then we had a couple other releases with follow-up that would add more
updates.
Yeah, we had updates for
okay.
it, so people got to ask more questions, sort of widening the scope.
Yeah, just the big one that I remembered. I actually forgot about that first one that you talked about.
Yeah, that one was a pretty short project, and it only took us about 3 months to start it and finish it.
Oh yeah, for reference, Josh and I were in North Carolina for almost exactly 2 years, right?
Yeah, it was pretty exactly 2
Yeah,
years.
it was almost exactly 2 years.
Might have been 23 and a half months.
Yeah.
Rather than 24.
Was that the last one you worked on then, project there?
Last one.
Is that how you ended it with? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. The team that I'm working on was putting out more and more releases of this Micromedics product.
Yeah. After Josh was at IBM for 1 year, you were working on an app with your uncle. Well, it was your uncle's idea.
I was working on that.
Well, yeah, you were working on it for a while. I'm
college.
just saying there was the overlap, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so like Josh would go to work at IBM and then come home, and then almost every day you would go to Starbucks, or, that was like a part-time job basically
Yeah.
for what you were doing.
Probably putting like 20 hours a week into it.
Yeah, so that app was an iOS app, or you know what I mean, iOS.
It was a
right?
mobile application.
Yeah,
so
mobile.
it was both Android and iOS.
Yeah, so he was working on that, and then he started working on that back college. So he's been working on that for, it was 2 or 3 years, right? It was about.
Yeah, it was probably at least 3 years.
Yeah. So while he was working on that, this goes to the story. I'm not tangenting on. This actually fits into it. He found out while working on this app for his uncle that he really likes iOS, like Swift.
I like building mobile applications.
Yeah. So
the
he
apps
really,
that you'd have on your phone.
Yeah. So he really enjoyed from working on that he really likes working on mobile development. After you worked a year at IBM, you were applying to, I remember you applied after a year to other jobs just to see what was out there, the market.
Yeah,
Josh is really into searching the market every year.
I had a year contract with IBM that my signing bonus was contingent on me staying there a year. Mm-hmm. So once that year came up, I decided to just test the market and see what was out there. So I feel like as a software engineer, it's good about every year to go see what other companies are offering, because the salary ranges in the market are constantly shifting and changing. So just you can find yourself getting stuck underpaid if you're not looking what's out there.
Yeah.
Even if you want to stay with your company, going and looking to see what's out there, it can give you the leverage you need to move up within your own company.
And ask for a raise.
Yeah, ask for raises or promotions.
My brother's fiance, she is applying to new jobs right now during the whole pandemic thing, so it's like kind of difficult and everything, but I told her that my mom told me that she got a couple offers. She's works in a nursing home, and I told her that she should use the leverage too from like different companies.
Yeah, pretty much. I feel like any negotiation,
Yeah, I was just telling her like she should try it because you've done it before, so and it worked every time.
I feel like in any negotiation, there's two things that you need to further yourself. It's he with the most information and the most options wins.
Mm-hmm.
So like
Yeah.
even if you're not going to take one of their options, having the extra information is going to help you out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And your company is always testing the market to make sure that they're paying enough. So they already have tons of information. They're making hundreds of offers
Mm-hmm.
every year, so they're able to see like what's too low and what's too high,
Yeah.
or like what are people leaving for. So they already have tons of information. So you just get a little bit of it. It's going to help you out.
Sorry, there's this girl jamming on her deck out there. Look at that girl. You see her? She's like, yeah. Do you see that?
Yep. Making our TikTok videos.
I think so. That's what I'm doing after
Trying to-
this. This morning I literally looked up how do you make a TikTok video.
Getting on the latest TikTok dance trend.
Yeah, but you said that you should do it for software engineers. I think you should do it for any company that you're a part of.
Yeah, it's a faster moving industry, so I
Yeah.
think you have to check more often.
Yeah.
If you work for more of a stable industry like a teacher or a pharmacist, maybe you only check every like 3 to 5 years rather than every year.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. I just think
You should
wherever
always,
you are in
you
your
always
career.
check just the time frame or the frequency of it can change.
Yeah. So you did that after a year, right? I remember you said you were just kind of searching the market.
Yeah, after a year I searched out.
I remember you had a couple interviews here and there, but nothing really like solid came through.
Yeah.
Another year and a half went by about. And then you started applying again to other positions.
It would have been less than a year
Okay.
because
I
I
wasn't
was there
sure.
less than 2 years.
Yeah. Shortly after Josh was applying to jobs, after a year, IBM had these very unexpected, no warning, nothing about mass layoffs. I remember you went to work that morning around 8 or 9, and then you came home at 10. And I was like, you came back early, and you're like, yeah, IBM just let go, what, 90%? It was something crazy of your department.
Yeah, it was
If you wanted to talk about-
it was particularly Watson Health that was affected.
Yeah,
during
yeah,
this
Watson
one.
Health. I couldn't remember the name.
And especially the provider side of it. So there's 3 parts of healthcare: the insurer, the payer, and the provider, and then the
I didn't know this.
but
so.
the provider is what I worked for. Like I said, those are the people that are working hospitals and doctors' offices. And
So you said you're a provider.
Yeah.
So is that like just software engineer? Then
No,
you're
it's-
providing code.
no, this
or...
is a divisions within healthcare. So I think the third one's
Oh,
research.
okay.
So there's researchers who are looking for drugs or doing clinical trials, doing that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
There's payers, that's like your insurers.
Yeah.
And the biggest one being Medicare and Medicaid, the government insurance.
Okay. I
And then
didn't know this. That's why I'm
The
asking.
third one's providers, so that's like the actual hospitals and doctors that are giving you your x-rays, taking your temperature, that sort of stuff.
Okay.
So we were working for provider, working at, these type of, they were applications that the actual doctors are going to use.
Yeah.
And that area did not grow as fast as IBM had projected.
Yeah.
So they went out with a bang and hired everything really fast because they expected it to grow really fast. And
That's why they absorbed Truven.
yeah, Truven and a few other companies hired for IBM, and they placed me on the team
Oh.
within Truven.
Okay.
And
You
then-
heard it from him, folks. I was wrong.
Provider didn't grow fast enough, so they were paying out more than they were making essentially, and
Yeah.
not a good business model.
Wait, can I pause right there for a sec?
Yes.
I just want to say something. All ties into our move. I'm sorry, I'm just going through the backstory the last few years, so this ties in. We're not just on a rant right now.
So they had to cut payroll within the division. So within Watson Health Provider, there's the 3 companies they acquired, and they were I think every single one of them, they were in Cleveland, Dallas, and then Raleigh, Durham, and I think all of them got cut 80 to 90% of their workforce
Yeah.
to get it on a stable business model, so they wouldn't have to like slowly start hiring people. They tried to do it all at once and just kind of bite the bullet on it.
Yeah, I remember we went to a happy hour later that same day. Every Thursday there was a happy hour, And it was just this building where anyone can go from 4 to 6. And they had free beer and everything, but it was primarily IBM because that was the big software tech there. It was just sad because so many people lost their jobs. And it was even more heartbreaking because a lot of those people, at least in our friend group, were straight out of college. So anywhere from like ages 20 to 26 that up and moved their life down to North Carolina lost their jobs.
But to be fair to IBM, they did give them all options.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
probably the most generous option, the one that most of them took, was they kept them on the payroll for, I think it was 90 days. So
I
essentially,
think it was even more than that.
could have been. It was.
But
Oh yeah, it was.
you can
What
go.
it was 3 months that they were on the payroll. So they would come into work, but they weren't working on their job anymore. Now what they were doing was just using that time to look for jobs and to get ready for interviews.
Yeah.
And then they also got a 1 month severance on top of that. So if it would have taken them 4 months, they'd have their full pay.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But otherwise, if they found something else, they still had an extra month of pay.
Because
So
I remember Cornell was still getting paid, and I think it was like 4 months.
yeah,
And
it was
little
a 3
tip
plus
and
1.
trick, if it happens to you, you can still get your severance and apply to a new job. I know a couple people that did that.
Yeah, so they
That got paid double then from IBM from the severance and started a new job.
So the 1 month severance and then 3 months to stay there. So a lot of people
Yeah.
tried to align their end date with the day when the 3 months was up. The 1 month you get no matter what. But the reason I think you bring that up was
Yeah. I'm getting
what
yeah.
that taught me is
Mm-hmm.
then I knew a lot of people that were out in the field in different careers or within different companies. They're all software engineers. Some of them were
Mm-hmm.
managers and stuff like that. But I was able to see what type of offers they were getting that was out there
Yeah.
and know that there are other companies that pay as much or more than IBM.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew people there, so I can get an in for interviews. So that pushed me to go look again when other people were getting their offers.
Well, yeah, and there's a little bit of I don't know how to explain it. You weren't like nervous, but just kind of goes to show they could drop you any day and not tell you. You know, like it
Yeah, I
doesn't
think-
matter if you work for a small company or a big one. They clearly don't care if they just cut you whenever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the people that were there knew that they were safe because the reason they cut so deep was to allow them to
Yeah.
now be profitable.
Yeah.
But it goes to show that a lot of people don't want to go with small companies because they feel like it's unstable. But a big company, even though the company is stable, that doesn't mean that your job is. You're still only going to perform. Your job's still only guaranteed on your own performance.
It was just kind of surprising when it all happened.
Yeah.
It was shortly after all these mass layoffs that happened to IBM. That's about when you started specifically looking for iOS positions.
Yeah, it was probably a couple months after that when I started looking, when I was seeing what kind of offers other people were getting.
Yeah. You applied to a ton, I remember. Google, a bunch of companies in the Raleigh-Durham area. I think there was even a couple in Texas. I can't remember which city, but...
Houston.
Or
but they-
was it Houston?
Yeah, the big thing I did was I opened up my LinkedIn to allow recruiters to contact me.
Yeah.
And just kind of was filtering it from there.
Yeah, so you were really busy with interviews for, I don't know, a month, it seemed like, if not more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be.
If you want to talk about kind of the hiring process that you took to get to Seattle for this job that you're at now, for a software engineer, like how does it typically go?
Hiring process in general for software engineers is first you get a call from a sourcing recruiter. They're just kind of feeling it out to see what have you done in the past. Does it fit with what they're looking for? Do you have that type of skill sets? And then where are you willing to move to and what kind of salary you're looking for? So just kind of general like feelers to see if there's some mutual interest. After that, if there's a match there, if there's mutual interest on both sides, they will email you out essentially an online exam. So it's usually
Even when you're an adult, you
Yeah.
get exams.
yeah.
So, like, you were already at a software company to another software company. It's a totally different process when it's college to your first software?
No, I would say the hiring process
Or you
is
can
about
explain
the same.
both
The
separately.
hiring process is about the same. The offer is a little bit different.
Alright, we can talk about that after. That's
Yeah.
easier. Alright,
So
you can
they-
keep going then. So he
you
got
ta- so
an
you
exam.
You
right?
talk to the sourcing recruiter.
Mhm.
They send you an initial exam. So because the flow of applications is so big, this is sort of a first filter that they can do in an automated basis usually. So it's online exams, usually 2 to 3 problems. Each problem usually takes. They usually give you, I don't know, it depends on the exam, but usually it's either 30 minutes or an hour. So we're talking about spending 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours on these exams that they're time boxed in, and they're timed, so you can't go any longer if you haven't solved it.
Some of them, are they over the phone, or do you work on your own and send it in? Or are you
No,
like a
these-
screen to screen, like
these
FaceTime?
these they email to. It's an emailed exam, completely automated,
Okay.
that you then are filling out online,
Mm-hmm.
and then they have automated tests to see if you've solved the problem or not. So they're essentially like puzzles, no any like real value. The next, if you've gotten past that, so they do the automated filter, so that way they're not wasting any of the company's time.
Yeah.
The next one they'll do is a phone interview. So on this, you'll have a screen share. So what I see on my screen, my interviewer can see the exact same thing. And they ask me questions over the phone. And it's a minier, a little bit more simplified version of the online exam. So the first one, they're just looking, what are your technical chops? This next one, they're looking for how do you think?
Mm-hmm.
So they can kind of see the process and, make sure you're not just like Googling to find an answer and going to do it. They want to see you do it live a little bit.
So with the you said automated.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that is? So does that mean that they're just looking for like, oh.
I mean, there's no human interaction, so
Mm-hmm.
you have this puzzle to solve. At the end, you have this code that will run to solve the problem.
Oh, okay.
And they might have 10 different tests that are testing different edge cases around it.
Oh, so automated, this is wrong, throw it out, but like not a human's doing it.
Yeah, they'll go, this person passed 7 out of 10, and this person passed 9 out of 10.
Okay.
And I'd imagine, I haven't done any interviews, but I imagine on the other side, if there's anything below a certain threshold, they just throw it out. If it's above there, they'll have somebody look at it and see, does it,
Line
pass
up.
a smell
Yeah.
check.
Okay. Okay, I just want you to back. You can keep going though.
But I don't think there's almost no human from the company looking at it.
Yeah, I knew that, but I was saying it for. I'm sure there's people that aren't software engineers that are like, what the hell
I was
does
just
that mean?
summarizing what automated mean.
But okay, so you were back
So then
saying
you did the phone screen.
The phone one, yep.
After you do the phone screen with another engineer, then usually they'll do a phone screen with the hiring manager. So this part, they're not looking so much technical. So this is sort of saying, does the hiring manager also have interest?
Yeah, is there a
he-
click?
Yeah, he knows that it's sort of like a higher level.
Mm-hmm.
And if you make it through those few rounds, the next one is to do what they call an on-site.
Mm-hmm.
So an on-site means I'm literally going on-site to where the company is. So for example, when I was interviewing with Google, they fly me out from Raleigh-Durham into Google, usually on a weekend, so that way there's less time pressure and you can get time off with your company.
It was like a Thursday to
Yeah, usually.
Sunday.
Yeah,
was it?
they
I
want to
don't
give you
remember.
like the best chance to succeed.
Yeah, no, I actually liked how they do it. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah, so they'll fly you out. Usually, I'd fly out like Thursday morning.
Mm-hmm. It's nice because
Either.
they give you, because when it's a Thursday to Sunday or Thursday to Monday, it's nice that they give you that day to like
Yeah, they don't
settle
want you,
in.
They want you to be jet lagged or anything.
Yeah.
They want you to like.
It's
feel
actually
comfortable.
really nice. So.
Yeah, for these on sites, they're trying to get people to succeed.
Oh yeah,
essentially.
that's a good point. They want to hire you.
Yeah, they want you to get the hire. They don't want to like.
Please.
They don't want to
Do
throw
well.
you through a curveball or something.
Yeah,
So,
you can keep going.
So you don't end up getting those like infamous questions you hear about where they're like, how many ping pong balls would fit in the Empire State Building? You don't get.
Oh yeah.
You don't get those weird questions like they used to ask.
Yeah.
And then when you come on site, you're usually going to do 5 interviews in one day, about 50 minutes apiece. So they give you the extra like 10 minutes to like decompress and use the bathroom. First day is just
I thought that was 2 days.
just to
Okay.
acclimate you with the time change and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And
You can
then
keep going.
the second day, you're going to be there pretty much all day, 10 to 3, something like that. So they usually give you a lunch. So 5 actual interviews or 4 where you're meeting in there. And they're giving you the same type of problems that you'd see on those online exams, except for you're going to do it on a whiteboard now. So you're not typing on a computer, which is always weird for engineers. It takes practice. And they want you to talk it out loud so they can kind of see how do you think through a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like ask questions of the interviewer and like clarify stuff? And then they'll have a lunch meeting, not an interview.
Mm-hmm.
So this person's not evaluating you at all. They're there for you to ask questions about the company to make sure that you want to be at the company.
Mm-hmm.
They're investing a lot in this interview process, so they don't want you to come there, not like it, and leave like within a year.
Yeah. Yep.
They're there to make sure that's a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's the end of the interview process. Then comes the offer. So this is where it's different depending if you're coming from.
Back up a little. So you flew out. Josh actually applied to Google. So he's using his example. You flew there, did the interview, so now you're back home, right?
Yeah, then they.
Yep.
So
now you're waiting for an offer. I just wanted to remind people, like,
it's usually
it's
usually a 2-day trip.
Yeah.
And then usually within 3 days after that, you're gonna get an answer.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, if they're gonna make you an offer, that's where it differs depending if you're out of college or not.
Yeah.
So once you're out of college, company to company, it's sort of the normal process. They'll be like, it's a yes or a no, and then if it's a yes, they'll email you an offer within a day or two.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times the recruiter tries to get more information about you, about what you want to get paid, so they can try to pay you as little as possible. But I just avoid it.
Yeah.
And usually if I make it awkward, I can avoid it. How they give the offers where it differs, whether you're coming out of college or you're going in a professional setting.
Yeah.
So in a professional setting, essentially they'll say yes, and they'll take a day or two and email you an offer, an offer sheet with a deadline of when you're going to respond to it. And they want a start date at that point. But for college, there's even more college grads and tons of companies that want them. Mm-hmm. There's not quite enough software engineers. So at that point, it switches to them recruiting you when they're giving you the offer. Usually if you get an offer, you're going to get an offer from a big company, they'll send people from all over the country to one location and essentially throw a big party for them and shower them with gifts to try to get them to come to their company.
That's what they did at IBM.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for IBM, I flew out to Atlanta. They threw us like a big gala at the
It was like the last day,
at the Georgia Aquarium, where they had, steak and shrimp and scotch and whiskey and beer, and you essentially spent the whole night there and just
Yeah.
At that point you're no longer interviewing, they're recruiting you.
Yeah.
And the more big companies you go to, you'll start seeing the pattern that they're doing there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Josh he's using the Google example because he actually went through the whole hiring process at Google, and then at the same time, you were talking with this Alexa team here in Seattle, right?
Well, no, not quite. So
not exactly lined up, but yeah.
Yeah, when I was going through the Google process, I had just done the on-site.
Yeah.
And then a sourcing recruiter for Amazon Alexa Mobile reached out to me.
But there was a little bit of overlapping.
Yeah, they were sourcing for Santa Cruz. While I was waiting for Google to make their decision, yes or no, the Amazon process sped it up really fast because they didn't want Google to put in an offer before they had a chance.
Leverage. This is what I talked about in the beginning. Use other companies as leverage if you're applying to more than one job.
So I didn't have to go through all of the process that I talked about.
They sped it up fast too.
There I did a phone interview that was pretty minimal, and then do an on-site like within a week. I did these two back to back and go.
Maybe a week. It might have been more like 3 days. Then you had to fly back
because
they did an on-site too, like you just talked about.
Yeah, so from first conversation to on-site was probably a week.
Yeah, but the reason why they sped it up because you were like, I am interviewing with Google right now.
And I'm waiting on an offer.
So they're like, shit, we'll fly you out today.
We want to at least have a shot.
Yeah. While Josh was flying away, he was gone for the on-sites. Like every day he was gone, and he was gone for probably back-to-back weekends, like 2 or 3 weekends in a row, like back to back.
The best part about the on-sites is it is completely expense free from your own pocket.
Yeah.
So they're paying for flights, they're paying for hotels, and they're either reimbursing you or just giving you a card that you can use to go ahead and buy all of your meals. If you want to get any souvenirs, like all of that stuff is just
That's
covered.
a good point. Don't worry about financial, like I don't have money to do. They literally pay for everything. Like don't. The only thing that's taken away from you is the time to get there. Also, you said sometimes they will fly out like a spouse too. Google and Amazon didn't, but some companies let you. Just keep
I
that in
think at
mind.
my level they wouldn't
Yeah.
do that, but if I was a level or two up,
Yeah.
then they might consider it more because they're talking, they're not doing as many interviews at those type of levels.
Yeah.
And so they can kind
Well,
of
and it
afford
was
more
fun. I
rates.
didn't have to go.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, don't, yeah. So Josh flew out and so he got done with the interviews with Google, and then maybe a week later you flew out again you said it was Santa Cruz, right?
Santa Cruz, yeah.
For Amazon Alexa team. Got back, you got both the offers, right?
No, I only got the offer with
Google or Amazon, right?
Yeah, so Google ended up not making an offer.
There was a little bit of, I don't know the right word for it, kind of confusion because you thought that you were getting an iOS job with Alexa. Sorry, she's listening. I need to mute her.
So what had happened was I'd interviewed for the opening in Santa Cruz, and that was with Alexa Mobile. And after, the way that Amazon operates is before the offer. So after the on-site, when they've decided that they're going to hire you, they then have you interview with a couple different teams to decide what teams you wanted.
Yeah.
But by the time I got to the team matching, the Alexa Mobile positions had filled up, so they didn't have any more openings. So then they transferred me to Seattle to a couple options that were there.
Yeah.
And they basically told me at that point, they're like, it's pretty easy to transfer within Amazon. So get your foot in the door would be their suggestion. And then figure it out from there.
So it was I remember we were a little disappointed because the whole time that Josh was doing the interviews with this Amazon Alexa team, it was for Santa Cruz for iOS, right?
Yeah,
we were like ready to move, like, oh, California, we both have never been there before, like Santa Cruz, like
California, great weather.
Great weather, yeah. And I remember we were at the Frontier that happy hour, yeah, that weekly every Thursday they have this happy hour. I remember we were there, and then that's when they called you. And I remember he's like, they basically messed up. It was kind of annoying because it wasn't professional. Like, it seemed like there was a loss in communication on their end. Because you were going to get that job, and he's like, oh yeah, that job got filled, but we have these positions.
Filled it before.
Yeah, filled, but there had to be a disconnect. So I remember you came back to me, and we talked about it because you said it was Seattle, but Seattle wasn't really on our radar.
We ended up just watching a bunch of videos.
Yeah,
about
so
Seattle
we did our research.
Because neither of us had been there. Santa Cruz, at least I had been there, so I can be like, yeah, I think.
Well, yeah, you flew out there for the interviews, but it's not like you went there with your family, you know?
But we had never seen Seattle, so we had a little bit of information on what it's like.
Yeah, so we kind of went over we did a ton of research, we watched videos, we did it all. And we were well aware, for everyone, that we know that Seattle is gloomy, rainy weather. We're not stupid. We know that. We're well aware that what we were getting into. Because this kind of goes into one of the reasons why we're thinking about moving, is basically, that's why I'm saying that. Where I was getting with this is we kind of talked about it and we're like, okay, you know what, let's just go to Seattle, and we'll give it a year. If we absolutely hate it, we could just move back to North Carolina. You know what I mean? Like, we'd just try it out.
Yeah.
So you took the offer for this position out here in Seattle.
Yeah.
Our kind of like thought with it was, this is a foot in the door, like you were talking about. You can switch teams easily. Seattle is where Amazon is literally based, if you didn't know that. We moved out here and we took about a week to move out here, right?
Longer than that.
Yeah,
we came out here in June.
Yeah, because I remember you took the position, I think it was early May. And then I remember they were like, hey, can you start like 2 weeks, like 2 weeks later? It was really quick. I remember that. Josh was like, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, so we did.
Lunch break.
We did a little research into Seattle to make sure that it seem like a good fit for us. And then we were sort of rushed in the moving. They wanted us to go out there within 2 weeks. And we're like, well, that's not a lot of time to go find an apartment and everything. Plus we had our godchild's baptism was happening in North Carolina, so we had to wait till that was done. Our excuse to get out was mostly the godparent.
Yeah, and your sister.
Yeah, then from there we just figured out the logistics of how to move to Seattle.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So they told him, hey, can you start at this time? And we're like, yeah, that works. So I want to point this out because it's kind of funny. I just started a new job at Costco, or not, oh my God, not Costco. Cisco. Yeah, that's it. Cisco. And I was only there for what? Maybe 2 weeks. And I had to put my 2 weeks in because he got this job.
Yeah,
because when
we told you to treat
yeah.
treat it like I don't have the job.
Yeah.
And because we can't put our whole life on pause because I'm just going to keep
that's
interviewing.
What I was about to say. Yeah. Because he was in the middle of interviewing at all these places. I was searching the market. Like we talked about in the beginning, how Josh recommended whatever job you're at, search the market because you never know. Salaries can go up or down. It's just always good to search. So that's what I did when I was in massage therapy, and I saw that Cisco was paying a lot more than the job that I was at already. So I was like, well, we're kind of in this limbo, just waiting for you to get offers.
Yeah,
so I just took the job. So I was like, well, I'm not just going to put my life on hold while we wait for these companies to get back. But of course, after I took the job offer, I think it might have even been on almost the same day. That's when we got a call back from Amazon Alexa. Is she on mute?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
moved.
Yep. So, yeah. One more thing I want to get into. So, yeah. So we told him that we could start in like 2 weeks. And in that same time, we had our godchild. We needed to get her baptized. And the people, her name's Harper, and Courtney and Derek are the parents. So they live in New York, and they had to, I think they drove all the way down from New York to North Carolina. And also she was getting baptized. So there was no way we could miss that. So we had to be there for that. And we wanted to see them. We haven't seen them in over a year. At the same time, Josh's sister and her husband were visiting. They were going to a wedding, so they stopped and hung out with us for a while. So we were jam-packed trying to do this, get everything in, and pack up our entire apartment. And just a little side note, I need to put this in. If you're ever switching jobs, like in Josh's case, just know you need to look for moving companies way in advance. Because remember, that was one of the things we had trouble with. We had trouble finding movers, like some sort of moving system, but we didn't know that they had to know so ahead of time. You know what I mean? We were on that crunch time.
The part that surprised us was that it took 2 weeks for them to move the stuff. So it was two weeks without our stuff.
So yeah, we decided to make so we ended up going with a U-Box. So you just pack it yourself. They move it for you. No big deal.
Pick it up, drop it off.
Pretty straightforward.
You throw it in this box and put your own lock on it.
They give you all this packing gear. It's kind of like a blanket, so it protects everything. We really liked it. And it's significantly cheaper than...
Probably 20% of the cost of a full service mover.
I know. We're looking at numbers now. What we were thinking, movers that come in and wrap all your stuff up and move it for you, that's around $2,000 to $5,000.
Going across the country is probably 5,000 or 6,000.
The destination makes a difference too, but we did literally border to border, so we were high end.
The U-Box was like 800 or 1,000.
Yeah, so
it's like 20% of the cost.
Yeah, highly recommend a U-Box. We really liked it. We're thinking about doing it this time too. We'll get into that later. So whatever, we did the U-Box. Buy a lock it up, packed it up, baptized Harper, godchild, and then we left that same day. And we decided to go with a week-long trip because we didn't want to be super rushed.
We mentioned that it was an 8-day trip and we had to stop in a bunch of cities.
We purposely chose the route that we did because it hits all these big cities that...
The fastest route
was up to Wisconsin.
An extra half hour was to go...
Up to Madison.
Go through Wisconsin, Minnesota, North Dakota, Montana. Mm-hmm. But those states are boring.
Yeah, Montana. Ooh.
So we decided instead to go through St. Louis, Denver, Salt Lake City, Boise, and take a more southern route, which added on about 30 minutes to an hour. But we figured we would be able to see the Arch, and we were able to see...
Yeah.
We were able to see
Buffalo
the mountains
Island.
of Denver, Buffalo Island, and Salt Lake City, and... But we made it into a fun trip.
Yeah, it was really good because all those cities that we hit, the Arch, Buffalo Island, everything Josh rattled off, we had no other reason to ever go to those cities. You know what I mean? So this was a good excuse to, hey, let's go now. Like, what, like, we have no other reason to go to the Arch. We have no reason. We have no family in
Who
there.
makes a summer vacation trip to St. Louis?
Just the Arch to go up it and back. So we're like, oh, this is a really good opportunity to hit it up all along the way. Like you said, around a 8-day trip, you said?
Yep. And then so the team that I ended up getting hooked
Yeah.
up with, rather than being Alexa Mobile, it was still with Alexa, but it was more smart home based. So basically what we did is we make a chip for manufacturers
Yeah.
who aren't used to making smart products to be able to put that in their product that they've already make and make it smart enabled to give themselves a new product to sell. So last Christmas we released, I think it was like 5 products, including a microwave, a coffee maker, an air freshener. I don't remember some of the other ones, but the biggest seller was a smart Christmas tree.
Yeah.
So the basics is it had like 10 different lighting functions. So I could turn it on or off, or I could ask Alexa to give it candy cane mode or midnight mode or red or green. Just
If
change the
you're
lighting on it.
wondering, this freaking Christmas tree was sold out all of November and December too.
Yeah,
it was like 2
sell out
months
and they get in
straight.
stock and it sell right
Yeah.
away because it ended up getting picked up by all the bloggers and got on
Yeah.
Ellen and stuff like that.
I
so.
watched a clip on the Amazon. It is really cool. You should check it out. It's a really good bang for your buck. If you're not into cleaning up a real Christmas tree, it's pretty cool. We got here and then Josh started work the next day, basically.
Yep.
Let's see. You started early June. It was like June 1st, right? It was right on
No,
just
it would've
about.
It would have been somewhere between June 6th and June 12th, somewhere in there.
Okay. Early June. So yeah, you started in June.
June 2nd, that's what it was.
Oh yeah.
It was June 2nd.
Okay, so he started right away in June. When we're recording this, it's April, whatever, 18th or something.
17th.
Yeah, 17th. So you've been there
10 months.
10 months. So you're getting to a year.
Yep.
So in that time, you primarily worked on the microwave?
No.
Or no? Okay. I thought it was. I'm looking at the microwave because before they release
Before a physical product gets released, a lot of times they'll do a beta. within
beta,
the Amazon customers.
like a tester, so they let
fix
people.
any like minor errors.
Yeah. In our
My
kitchen.
team worked on within the product. Doesn't sound very exciting. It's essentially fleet management, but that would mean when these devices are out in people's homes, how do we send updates to them, and then how do we get metrics and logs so the manufacturer can see how people are using it and how much they're using it, so that next time they can make a better product. And when a partner signs on, how do we set them up a whole account and that sort of stuff. So it's sort of like, how does the manufacturer know what's going on with their products that they're releasing?
So are you still doing that now, or is that just early in the beginning?
Yeah, that's what we're doing now.
Oh, that's what you're doing now. Okay.
The
Yeah.
main thing that we're doing right now is related to GDPR and that sort of stuff, because the new laws passed in California and Europe, and how do we deal with data.
Okay. Kind of the moral of the story why I'm bringing up this whole long conversation why you moved here is because we thought you were going to be working on iOS stuff, but they ended up switching your team last minute, kind of.
Yeah.
But you're working for Amazon, which is a huge company, obviously, so it's a good foot in the door.
They make it super easy for
Switching teams,
for
you
their
said?
programmers to be able to change teams. So
Yeah.
a lot of companies, if your manager needs you, they can block any of your transfers.
Mm-hmm.
But Amazon does it the opposite way. They just enable, the manager can't physically block you. They can ask you to stay back or offer you something to stay back. But if you
Mm-hmm.
want to go, they can't stop it.
Yeah. And like I mentioned before, our attitude was worst case scenario, if we absolutely hate it here in Seattle, we can just move back to North Carolina. You know what I mean? It's not a big deal.
So we got to the point where we were in decision mode.
Mm-hmm.
We are looking at buying a house within the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
So once you get to buying a house, you're starting to build some roots to make it harder to move around. So we need to decide, is this somewhere we want to be for 3 to 5 years? And
Yeah.
even in being Seattle's first year, it felt like it could be that, but we weren't sure of it. We weren't sure of it enough to make that commitment. So then when I was looking at other teams to transfer to look for one of these mobile spots, we were like, what cities have that potential. Mm-hmm. And our top 2 cities were either Austin or stay in Seattle.
Kind of touched on it. So we started looking for houses. I mean, we were seriously looking. We got a realtor, you know what I mean?
We were touring, we talked to mortgage companies.
And we did that from October, November, December, so 3 months.
Yeah.
I remember that it was January, so we got back from visiting our family for Christmas, and I remember that it was raining out. So as I mentioned before, it is gloomy and rainy in Seattle.
Especially through winter. The winter months, you're going in that November, December, January especially, you get a lot of it.
I remember that it was probably gloomy and rainy from October up until, I don't know, last month, March, probably.
I don't know. I'd say when we really felt it was January. It was pretty much...
Yeah, it was definitely January.
Pretty much all of January, there was no blue skies.
So I remember
straight gray.
We were talking to our realtor, and Josh walks back and forth to work. We live close enough. Yeah. This is another point that I wanted to mention, because I think a lot of people wonder why we purposely chose to live in downtown Seattle.
Well, our biggest decision factor there was it
was close to work,
so
that's one.
We knew Seattle traffic can get bad, and we didn't know how bad, because I hadn't even done my interview here, so I hadn't even seen the city. Mm-hmm. So we figured, to be safe, let's get something where I could walk it if I need to.
Yeah. Well, remember when we were in Raleigh-Durham area? I'm bringing this up because people have actually asked us, like, why would you choose to live in downtown? When we were in Raleigh-Durham, remember, we lived in
We lived in the cheapest, safest apartment.
Yeah,
cheapest apartment that's still safe.
We literally just found the cheapest place, because we still had student loans that we were paying off, so obviously we're going to get our rent as low as possible.
And then you had seen one of the nicer apartments.
They literally called them luxury apartments in Raleigh. Yeah.
You were asking, it'd be nice to see what it's like living there sometime. Mm-hmm. And when we were moving here, our loans were just about paid off. We had a month or 2 left. Mm-hmm. And so we figured, let's go ahead and try that out, because we knew we were coming up and buying a house. This would probably be one of our last apartments that we rent. Yeah,
we figured it was a good time. Like, this would be the time to test it out. Yeah. We wanted to just try it.
Because once you buy a house, you're not going back to an apartment.
Yeah. And it goes back to my point of worst case scenario, if we didn't like living downtown, we could just move out of downtown after a year.
It was the safest first place to land.
Yeah. So those were really the big reasons. We purposely wanted to try it out and see if we liked it. Second, it was close to Josh's work. He could walk.
But we're at the point where we narrowed it down to 2 cities.
Yeah.
And the next process that we went through...
Oh, wait. I want to bring up... So I remember Josh got home from work, and it was downpouring out. And I remember Josh was looking out the window, and he's like, yeah, I'm not really sure if Seattle's the place where we want to build our roots. And then I was looking at you, and I smiled, and I was like, I'm kind of thinking the same thing. It was just one of those, it's raining, it's going on.
Like the 3rd week in a row.
Of rain. And when it's gloomy and rainy out and everything, it's just hard to get motivated. It really is. There's no ifs, ands, whats, buts. It really is hard to just get motivated for the day. So after we went to dinner the next day, and then that's when we really started talking about you applying to different Amazon positions.
The next thing we did was I spent the time looking through Amazon's internal job postings.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Seeing where the mobile positions were that were open.
Yeah.
And getting that list of cities. And then once we saw that, we narrowed it down to our favorite cities, Austin and Seattle. Mm-hmm. And then I was able to go and look. Seattle, there's a ton of options because it's the headquarters, like Brittany mentioned. So we looked into what are the options in Seattle, and then what are the options in Austin, and there was only a couple.
Yeah.
So we went from those couple, and I went and talked to those managers to see, do one of them have a option that would be right for us, and if they weren't, then we were going to stay in Seattle.
Yeah. So these kind of go into what I was thinking. This was a good time to find an actual position for iOS, which is where you wanted to take your software engineering career.
Yeah, it was a good time to do it because we knew we were staying within Amazon, and the internal transfer process would be easier than a brand new interview and in a new field.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it just, you kind of got, I don't know, like suckered out of the iOS position this time. So it was just kind of like, okay, it's been almost 3 years out of college. Like, let's find a career, or not a career, position that's actually in iOS, which is what you've been wanting the last few years.
Yeah, and the project that I was on was also just had its sort of first launches.
Yeah, I
so
wanted to get into
time,
that too.
It was a good time for the project, from the project life cycle, for people to shift in or out.
I know a lot of people. I talked about this in a YouTube video. I can try and link it below. I didn't know if you want to talk about how it's not unusual for software engineers to switch jobs so willy-nilly in positions.
Yeah,
it's kind of normal.
Within Amazon, it's usually somewhere between the 2 to 3.5 year mark that somebody's switching.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people that have the traditional 9 to 5 jobs that work in whatever, factories, construction. You know, you don't really typically, it doesn't look good to switch jobs so frequently, but it really is normal for software engineers.
Yeah.
So yeah, so people are thinking like, wow, you don't really stay at a job very often. It's normal.
Yeah. Even within the company.
Just tech community more.
Yeah, even within the Amazon company.
Yeah.
It's not super common to find somebody who's been there for longer than 5 years.
Yeah.
By the time that, even where I am now, on the team that I'm on now, I've only been there 10 months, but there's been like 5 or 6 people that got hired after me.
Oh yeah, after you.
So I'm no longer anywhere near the new guy on my team.
Yeah.
Whereas normally, like, your first like few years, you're the new guy on the team, but we've just constantly hiring new people.
Yeah, and just so you get an idea, in the last few weeks, there's already a few people that left off of Josh's team.
Yeah,
So
just that point of the project life cycle.
So typically with software engineering, if you get done with a project, so they got done with this microwave.
Yeah, we had all the Christmas launches.
All the Christmas stuff. So they've kind of in this willy-nilly limbo. They're just
moving to a new phase of the product.
Yeah, but I know you talked about how you're kind of feel like you're not, I don't know, like learning anything new.
I'd say I'd word it a little different than that.
Yeah,
I'd say
you
that
can
I'm
word
not,
it nicer. I don't know how to say it nicely.
I would say that I'm not learning the type of skills that I want to be learning, and that goes into going into the mobile.
Yeah, and that because you want to head in the direction that you've been wanting to get into.
Yeah, there's lots of other people that I know that I graduated with that worked with IBM that would love this type of work. It's just not. I want to do something closer to the client, closer to the user.
So here's just a quick example. So they got done launching their product, and a guy in Josh's team, he's been working on this project for 3 years? I'm talking about Nikita.
Yeah, the project's been around for 2.5 or 3 years.
So after you work on a project for 2 or 3 years straight, just one project, and you release it to the world, you probably get a little bored. So this particular guy on Josh's team, I think he has every right to look for a new team. Also, another thing I'm emphasizing, it's just a new team that Josh is going to. It's not a different job, like a whole different company. It's just a different team.
Yep.
So we started thinking about moving. We narrowed it down to Austin, Texas.
Yeah, we said Austin, Seattle. And
Austin, Seattle,
I said that I went and talked to the teams that were available in Austin that were working on mobile.
Yeah.
I talked to those managers to see if I was interested in what they were working on.
Yeah.
And I found 2 teams that I was interested in working on, and I then went in deep with the one that I was most interested in.
Yeah, and well, obviously with everything that's going on right now, it was all over phone.
Yeah.
It's not like you didn't fly out there.
Yeah, the whole process was pretty informal over the phone.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be as rigorous of a process as the external one, because they can see all the code that I've written since I've been at Amazon, and all of the articles that I've written since I've been there, and they can see all the manager performance reviews and stuff like that. So it's a pretty informal process. It was pretty quick. Quicker
it wasn't stressful or anything.
Yeah, I think the whole process from first conversation to application being sent in was, I don't know, maybe a week and a half. And obviously it all turned out well, because we already said that we're moving to Austin.
Yeah.
So.
Some people seemed surprised that we are moving, thinking, oh, you don't like Seattle then? But that's not really it. First off, we like Seattle. When it's nice out, it really is nice. You know, the summers this week, it's been in the 60s.
It's pretty much just the November, December, January, February. It's
Yeah,
like those 4 months. And then March is kind of half and half, and April's a little half and half, and then after that it goes back into the beautiful weather.
Yeah, couple things. Because we live in the downtown area, when it does rain, I have to go to the post office a lot. So it's not very convenient going to the post office when it's downpouring out. And we live in that awkward, it's close enough that you can just run there, but it's also, there's no parking because of the traffic. You have to pay for parking anywhere.
Just under a mile, but
Yeah.
it's also downtown, so there's no parking.
So, like,
anywhere.
if you walk a mile, it's a half hour there, a half hour back. That's an hour of my day. I could run there, but it's raining. And I don't want to drive there because you have to pay. And if you take the Uber bikes or whatever, you have to pay for that also. And Josh walks back and forth to work. So when it's raining, it's really fucking annoying when it's raining. Another big factor of it is the cost of living here.
The biggest thing is the housing cost.
The house, yeah. So we
We're
were
talking-
looking at houses that were four to 600,000 is what we were looking at. But a lot of the places that we liked were at that $500,000 or $600,000 mark.
Houses that we were able to find were 2-bedroom, 1-bath townhouses that were right around 1,200 square feet and between like 500 to 550,000.
Yeah.
Dollars.
So it was at
So-
the peak of our budget.
Yeah,
though.
we're talking no lot, no lawn or anything.
Yeah, no
You're just-
lawn. Yeah.
you just
Street
have-
parking, not even a garage. A lot of them.
Yeah, you're connected to.
We
your
liked
neighbors.
them. Don't get me wrong. Hence why we kept looking. We
Yeah.
liked them. It's just,
Just the cost is high.
yeah, the cost
There's
is
no,
high.
no getting around it.
When we started looking at places in Austin, I was blown away. I thought Austin was expensive to live in. Just Texas in general, actually. So when
the
we were
gener-
looking at Zillow,
The general what we found was you can get, I guess, 2,500 to 3,000 square feet. Like
so a house.
yeah, like 3-bedroom, 3-bath with
Mm-hmm.
a lawn and everything, and you can find that for like for 250,000
Yeah.
all day.
Oh yeah, everywhere, and like it was like
So we're
new.
talking-
It was beautiful house. I mean, obviously we're looking on Zillow. It's not like we've walked through the houses, but
But
going
no-
from what
but
we're
no one-
seeing,
No one can walk through houses these days anyway.
yeah,
It's all virtual
yeah,
tours.
yeah,
But the general of it is you can get twice the house for half the cost.
yeah,
And that's your biggest cost of living factor is what's your housing going to be. And
Yeah.
it's the same thing with apartments too. We could
Mm-hmm,
find apartments that were twice the amount of beds for half the cost. Mm-hmm. So it's the same whether you're renting or you're owning. It's just this Seattle market.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
cost
cost
of
of living's
living's
less. That was another big reason why. With that being said, we figured we could buy a house and pay it off in
Like
what
3 years.
3 years compared to if we bought a townhouse or house, whatever we ended up going with here in Seattle. We were thinking it was going to take
6 years.
6 years. That's pretty drastic. As Josh and I have lived in North Carolina, here and soon to be Texas, we just like warmer weather too. We do. We just like warmer weather. So that played a bit. We know Texas is hot. We're fine with it. A lot of those places come with pools too. North Carolina, it was hard to find an apartment that didn't have a pool.
Yeah.
And same thing goes with Texas.
In my mind, July and August turned to be just like the cold winters of Wisconsin. Is those months you just don't go outside.
Yeah.
But it's
Yep.
sunny and warm when you're not going outside. So you just go from your air conditioned house to your air conditioned car to your air conditioned job. Like
Yeah.
You just don't spend the time outside the same way you would if it was negative 10 degrees outside. You just don't spend the time outside. You just
Yeah.
go from your heated house to your heated car to your heated
Yeah.
job. I'm not going to go spend 20 minutes outside.
Yep. Yeah.
But now it's 20 minutes outside with the sun out instead of 20 minutes outside with.
Yeah. Well,
Brutal
remember,
cold.
I looked at the weather here, or I looked at the weather yesterday in Texas, and it was about the same as here. Remember?
Yep.
I looked it up. So it's about the same temperature here in Austin, Texas, than it is here in Seattle.
Their springs will be similar.
Basically, where we're at now. So now we're just waiting for your manager.
I can go into the process.
Yeah,
of it.
talk
So-
about that now. And like moving packages. Talk about
Yeah,
that
so
too.
we're figuring out right now. The two managers are figuring out when would be a good start date. Mm-hmm. And then because of the quarantine right now, we won't get moved right away. They're gonna end up just having me work remote from Seattle because I've been working remote in Austin anyway.
Yeah.
And we'll move when the quarantine lifts. It'd be easier to find movers and stuff anyway that way.
Yeah.
However we decide to do it. So we're just in a holding pattern right now, and within a month for sure I'll be switched to the other team.
So we're just waiting for his managers to talk to find out an end date. We were gonna start packing up
Those stuff that you have in the closet that
jackets. You know, it's 60, 70 degrees here in Seattle.
Stuff
we
that
don't
are
need
used
jackets.
once or twice a year, you start packing.
Yeah,
up.
kitchen stuff they're just not using a lot. Stuff like getting rid of stuff, donating. Yeah, so we're just kind of in this waiting / going through things that we can get rid of or start packing now. And then I didn't know if you wanted to get into moving, like if we're gonna do a U-Box, like our thought is on that.
Yeah, our thought for this move is we're not going to want to drive like a moving truck out there. That seems to be the way that a lot of people go. We would either do the full service move where they pack up everything for us and then you throw it in the truck. They throw it in the truck and they unpack it all for you.
Yeah.
Either that option, but probably more likely we'll use the U-Box again, because last time when we were filling up the U-Box, it was only about half full. And how much stuff could you possibly accumulate in 10 months?
Not even half.
We've only been here for 10 months, so...
Yeah,
one of the nice things about moving is we keep our amount of stuff that we acquire low.
Yeah, that's something. It forces you to... A lot of people are surprised. Josh and I are pretty minimalist people. We are because we move a lot. We just like it. It forces you to just not collect a lot of things. We're hoping to hear back from them sometime next week.
Yeah, I'll hear back from them next week, a date, but it's just, I'll be switched over there within a month.
Yeah. You kind of went over the number type stuff. If we should rent for another year or buy right away.
Yeah, we'll end up renting down there just because to get an idea of the city. Where's the good places to buy, where's the bad places, where's neighborhoods you don't want to be in. Do you like the feeling of downtown, I want to be there? Do you like the feeling of the suburbs, I want to be there? How's the traffic? All of the side of stuff. You kind of need to be there half a year to kind of figure that stuff out.
Yeah, we were going to do a 3 to 6 month lease, but when we started looking closer, we figured a year, another year
big
renting.
Fat down payment on that.
Yeah.
So again, my name's Josh Schmidt. You can find me on pretty much any social media as @TheNerdAssassin, pretty much everywhere. So it's on Twitter, on Instagram, on Medium. I've been writing some software articles. You can find me on LinkedIn. If you look up Joshua Schmidt Amazon, you should be able to find it. It's a pretty common name, so it's a little harder to find. But The Nerd Assassin is the username on pretty much everything, so you could find it there. Yeah, one of the ideas, if you see me come up with a podcast, probably my strongest idea right now is to interview small businesses in a local city. I feel like the interview style is pretty easy to step into. You're not sitting there solo by yourself, and you can learn a lot from all the different businesses. So if I ever decide to start my own business, even if the podcast has 0 listeners, I'm learning from a lot of the great people that are able to start something themselves, and also I can use it to help me generate ideas of ways that I can help small business.
Yeah.
Whether that's writing some software or coming with some sort of product to help them out. So I feel like it's a win-win even if there's 0 listeners.
Yeah, like you'll learn something from it no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
There's no failing.
I remember when he kind of got the idea. We passed a vacuum store. It was just a store on vacuums.
Vacuum cleaners and sewing machines.
Yeah, and I remember we were in the car and you're like, see, I want to interview people that own that store.
Yeah, like how are
they staying afloat?
How
like
did you
how they
to
do
come
it?
Up with those?
Yeah.
Like, how many customers
how are they
come in
successful?
Here? Never seen.
It was a
here.
big building too. Like it was ginormous.
On the main strip of downtown, like. Why?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I just remember that's kind of how you came up to the idea.
There's these businesses out there that
either
you look at and you're like, how'd they start that business?
Yeah.
Or you look at and you're like, somebody just moved into there. What do they even do?
Like
I just know the name, but I don't know what that name means.
I definitely want to vlog when we start moving, the travel there, whatever route we
just. A few-day trip.
Yeah. Because we don't even know what way we want to go. We looked up that there was a couple ways. You could take literally the whole coast of California.
Yeah.
Or you could go through Salt Lake City, Albuquerque. We haven't even decided that. Or even how we don't even know if we're going to do the U-Box or...
Yeah, we'll see.
Probably, but we'll see.
I want to vlog
that.
Update you throughout the...
And maybe once we get to Austin, we can do another podcast like this. It depends how... if there's a lot of events going on or not. I think that's it for now. Go follow Josh on all his social medias. Mine is basically, it's Brittany Schmidt everywhere. I'll catch you guys in the next podcast, and thanks for listening and watching. Bye!
See you later, cats and kittens.